Dorianna Braxton, and today I will be discussing my research where I explored the experiences of female student broadcasters. Just a short disclaimer that the nature of my research does have the usage of aggressive and harsh language, just so my panel is aware and prepared. Fuck this dumb cunt. The hashtag #MoreThanMean Women in Sports Face Harassment video has over 4 million views on YouTube, and rightfully so. This video broke the internet by having men read aloud online hate comments about women in sports broadcasting. Here's the catch. They had to read these comments to the reporter's face. This video opened people's eyes and perceptions of the harsh backlash women in broadcast actually receive. An example of comments that were read were, "Hopefully this skank, Julie DiCario, is Bill Cosby's next victim. One of the players should beat you to death with a hockey stick, like the whore you are." These were comments left for female broadcasters online. These women get hate and backlash just for doing their job. This was only one of the many things said about female broadcasters. Women in broadcast journalism receive aggressive and harsh language towards them on a daily basis. Women in news face many forms of online harassment. They can be from sexist remarks, inappropriate requests, to threats of rape. These women get harassed through a screen. They are often easily called words such as bitch, slut, whore, and everything in between. Social media has a big part of how the aggressive language reaches these broadcast journalists. These hate comments can come from all over, such as an Instagram comment, a retweet, a direct Facebook message, and even emails. Even after leaving work, women are followed by nasty remarks from people behind a screen. For women broadcasters across the country, these experiences are not new, and in fact, represent prolonged and frequent components of the job. Being judged and receiving harsh comments and words should not be a part of the job, and this should not be the norm and expected if you go into this career field. These online haters, or trolls as they are called, don't hold back when commenting on their appearance or the way they speak. These trolls will comment demeaning words which can cause long-lasting impacts. This aggressive behavior towards women isn't new. Women in broadcast have been faced with people with just not nice things to say about them for a while now. It is just now more prominent due to the increase in social media and online presence. These online comments are prime examples of objectification. The objectification of women comes from negative and violent attitudes. By objectifying women, it causes a negative impact, not just to them, but also to the world around them. It has been noted that by objectifying women, this causes a loss of their individuality, intellect, and personality. This depicts women as an individual's tool, and not a person, which also causes dehumanization. When individuals objectify women, they begin to think less and lose concern for her. The sexual objectification of women has been prominent and evident for so long, but somehow nothing has truly changed. When you turn on a TV and click on the news, you tend to see a lot of men on your TV screen. When there are women, they have perfect makeup, hair, and are sitting up and pretty. This is always expected for women, or they are considered unprofessional, but not so much for men. Broadcast journalism, specifically looking towards sports, has been overloaded with males and very little females. It is shown whether they are announcing, commentating a game, doing play-by-plays, or simply recapping a game from earlier. Women sports reporters are placed in a very small box, and there are very few of them represented. Women compose fewer than 6% of sports reporters. We all know that individuals in the broadcast industry receive harsh words in person and online. Although there is a difference between how it comes towards the men than the women. The field is heavily dominated by men, and this trend has been prominent for a long time. Even though women are more than half of the U.S. population, men continue to dominate U.S. newsrooms. According to the American Society of News Editors, local TV news staffs in the United States are on average 56% male. By men occupying the newsrooms more, this can also allow harassment inside the job. Instead of being ranked by how well they do their jobs, they are ranked by how hot they are compared to the next female reporter. Women's Media Center states, if you Google Fox News female anchors, the first few results that pop up include top 10 hottest Fox News girls, sexy Fox News anchor suffers humiliating wardrobe malfunction, 19 Sexiest Women of Fox, and CNN Women versus Fox Women. Not only are they restricted by these standards, they're also restricted by their work in their workplace. Women typically aren't offered the same stories as their male coworkers would be. The soft, cute stories are offered to women, whereas the more masculine stories were offered to men. When these women do have the opportunity to work on these stories, they often opt out due to the fear of online harassment and abuse. Female broadcasters have worked for their degree or where they are in their career, which means they are highly qualified to do their job. They should not be hesitant to take on certain stories because of what will come afterwards. Kristen Kraft sued Kansas City's KNBC TV for gender discrimination in 1982. This made her the first female TV journalist in the United States to sue an employer for gender discrimination. She was looked upon as too old for the profession. After 8 months of her being on air, Kraft was demoted from news anchor to news reporter because her boss, who said she was too old, too unattractive, and not too differential enough to men. And she was only 38 at the time. Even though Kraft didn't win her case, she spoke up about the unequal treatment which impacted female journalists nationwide. This is a trend that tends to come up within broadcast journalism. Once a woman reaches a certain age or her looks aren't appealing anymore, they look for a younger replacement. On the other hand, their male coworkers can have a secure job with no worries of looking too old for television. More than ever, females have been involved more and more in their schools' broadcast journalism programs, many of which are interested in going to broadcast journalism as their future career. Later in their studies, these students become hesitant in pursuing a career in broadcast journalism because of what they witness female reporters enduring right now. These women gain a level of fear because of the demeaning and aggressive language happening at the professional level. They should not be hesitant to pursue this career path because of the backlash and hate of being on television can bring. It is evident that women broadcasters and reporters receive hate in person and through social media just for doing their jobs. There's already evidence that there is demeaning and aggressive language used towards professionals, female broadcasters. What is unknown is if this aggressive language happens to females in high school and college in their journalism broadcast programs. I explored when in a female broadcaster's career this aggressive language starts. This all led me to question, what are the experiences of female student broadcasters at the high school and college level? And do they face backlash online or through social media for being female in a male-dominated industry? I took a mixed method approach and distributed a survey to high school and college students. The survey was sent to all of the high schools in 2 sports and broadcast journalism programs in the North Kansas City School District. The survey was also distributed to the University of Northwestern School of Journalism in Chicago and the University of Missouri-Columbia School of Journalism female students. Distributed was an online survey because it would give me a wider pool of survey participants because they are not all local. The quantitative information that had to be collected involved the percentage of women that had been called a bitch or any other demeaning words. The qualitative information that also had to be collected were the experiences that they shared in the survey and what they chose to explain and reflect upon. The survey was targeted towards female high school and college students who are a part of their journalism broadcast programs at their school. At the beginning of the survey, I presented an informed consent where the participant would decide whether or not they wanted to take part in the survey. Though the discovery of the past experiences will help further the research, participants were presented with the choice to opt out at any time. I used SurveyMonkey, which safeguarded participants in their responses where it protects all data received. Also, there was no identifying information that would reveal the identities of participants. But at the end of the survey, I offered participants to leave their email addresses if they would like a copy of the research after. The data collected is held on a school-issued computer that will be taken and deleted in May of 2021. These are the results from my survey. As shown in Figure 4, 80% of participants said that they rarely or never experience aggressive language towards them regarding a broadcast segment in person. This was a positive result to discover. Many of these young women haven't experienced that. Also shown in Figure 9, participants said that 60% of them are given the same opportunities for desirable stories as their male counterparts. This was also very positive, and I was pleased to find that these female broadcasters felt respected and some never experienced any offensive language towards them. However, there were some major problems. Even though the participants revealed many of them felt respected with human interest in current event stories, this was not the same for sports broadcasting. Figure 10 shows that 64.29% of participants said that they rarely or never felt respected when it came to sports broadcasting. They were also asked if they had an experience with aggressive behavior, and if so, was the situation handled correctly? 53.33% said that the situation was handled correctly. This can be seen in Figure 12. While the majority is positive, there is not a big difference from people who said that their situation could have been handled better. The survey reiterated that women do feel pressured on their physical appearance. Figure 7 reveals that 66.67% of participants said that they often or sometimes feel like their physical appearance is critiqued online. To back that up, Figure 8 shows that 78.58% of participants said that they sometimes or often feel pressure to look a certain way in order to have the opportunities they want. This was a major area of growth. At the end of the survey, I asked participants to share any personal experience that they have come across that could further the research. While the data is important, what might be more telling is the participants' real stories and experiences. One participant shared, "When I was an intern at Kansas City TV station, I constantly got comments about my breast, my rear end, and I had many unwanted shoulder massages and sexual comments from male videographers. I never felt like I could say anything because it's a male-dominated field, and I wanted to get a job after my internship. I was repeatedly asked out on dates by men at the station. Many women in their workforce are seen as objects and taken advantage of when they are in a higher power. This shows that not only do women have to endure the sexualization from men online, but also from men in the workplace." Another participant added, "Oftentimes when I am reporting, I get catcalled by guys. It's sad, but I've gotten used to it at this point. It used to really bother and scare me, but now I pretty much ignore it. I've been called stupid and pretty, but not very bright, online and in the comments of my stories. Despite all of this, I get a few compliments and the best support from my bosses and professors. I love my job, even though a lot of people hate me for it." This experience added to the research heavily. This confirmed that young female broadcasters do receive harsh language as well. After going through the data and responses, the survey results suggest that student female broadcasters do experience some type of backlash towards them. These students do not experience the kind of aggressive language and harassment that professionals do, but they still encounter it at a younger age. Something needs to be done to stop this aggressive behavior towards women of all ages in journalism and broadcast. There are a few limitations from the research that need to be addressed. For example, I had a small sample size due to the research being directed towards a certain group of people. Of the 15 responses I did receive, only 11 of those responses were fully completed. I did not ask for demographics of the participants, but each participant self-reported to be female and either in high school or college broadcast journalism programs. I believe that future research should be done in a wider area across more schools than just the ones that I used. Different schools across the United States would have different programs and different ways of functioning. Also, future research should get the number of participants who have been called certain names such as bitch, and if this affected the way they perform as a broadcaster. By adding this, it could provide more of qualitative and quantitative data for the research. The goal of the research was to explore if female student broadcast journalists received aggressive language in their school's programs. As evidenced by the data, there is objectification of these young women. Broadcast journalists should be able to do their job without wondering what is going to be said about them online that day. These young student broadcasters are presented with gender discrimination in their programs and receive hateful comments. There is work to be done to ensure that these young female broadcasters aren't presented with aggressive language. This will then help decrease or hopefully eliminate the same aggressive language at the professional level. These are my sources and citations, and thank you for listening, and now I am ready for any questions you may have.
I do have a question. How did your review of the methods used by scholars in the field inform your selection of your research method that aligned your research questions and goals?
So I saw many people succeed by using the Force-Likert scale, and it was applicable to my research, so I worked off of that. And also, I saw many people use a mixed method of qualitative and quantitative data, and so I thought that that would help my data, and I could work with that as well.
Thank you.
What are the real world implications or consequences related to your findings?
Yeah, so I put a lot of effort into this project, but I don't think I should have. Like, this topic should not have been present. Like, female broadcasters should not be presented with harsh and aggressive language at all. And so even though I did put a lot of work into this, it should not happen today. And so I think my project is very important, and it opened people's eyes and hopefully perceptions of the things happening behind the scenes.
Think back to the initial curiosity that sparked your inquiry. What other curiosities do you have, and how has this process prepared you to explore them?
Yeah, so when I began my research, I was curious about how the aggressive language affected the professional women at their workplace, and if they were called demeaning words and language, did this affect how they reported on television, and if they had to change things about them or had things behind their mind. And so I think if I did do this project again, or if I wanted to change anything, I would wonder if all of that language and demeaning and backlash affected them and changed how they work.